A good morning to you, Braden. Happy draft week to everybody. Very, very excited for us here to have some fun. It is draft week. Just listen to Peter Schrager's 5 Things You Have Heard from the Week, and I'm here for the chaos. I have in front of me on this piece of paper, and we're going to get started a little early today because we've got a lot of stuff for the TDN Premium users. We're starting Overreaction Monday a little early this week, so a very tight half an hour that we're going to have here on the show. Hello to Rahul. Hello, Heldy. Happy draft week to you. Hope you're enjoying the vacation. Dan Finch, bonjour. How are you today, good sir? A very, very happy draft week to you all. I am very, very excited. I have in front of me my version 1.0 written down on old school pen and a piece of paper. I've been working on this because everybody knows this is my first predictive mock draft that I'm doing this year. I got to pick 14 and I already hate it. I got to pick 14 and I already don't like it. So that's where we're at with the version 1.0. There are some things that I think absolutely need to be in there, and I'm kind of working around these problems. But we've got a lot of stuff that is happening from a news perspective and a rumors perspective that is kind of messing things up a little bit. There are reports all over the place about what Arizona might do at number 3. There are some things about Jalen Carter not going outside the top 6, which is good for me because that's one of the things I already have. So lots of stuff. So let me just send out the tweet and we're going to get started right away. We got Jamie's mock draft, whatever you guys want to talk about. A very interactive week here on the show. I'm going to make the entire week interactive with you guys. And it's not out yet because I still need to edit it and finish it out. But there is a prospects and props episode today because we're not going to be able to do it on this show in half an hour. Jamie and I, there is an hour-long episode of prospects and props, and all we do is go through every selection in Jamie's predictive mock, his mindset, his thought process, what led him to the conclusion. I throw out some other ideas. You hear me react to it in real time because I don't know the picks ahead of time, so it's a lot of fun. That's going to come out later today. So let me just send the tweet out from my personal Twitter account for the show today, and then we can get started. But in the meantime, things that you're hearing that you would like to have me discuss here on the show, Jamie's mock questions because Jamie is in the chat. We can get to it all here over the course of the next half hour show. And if you are a member of the TDN Premium Discord, in a half an hour, at the bottom of the hour, 11:30 Eastern Time, 8:30 Pacific, head on over to the TDN Premium Discord. Overreaction Monday today, the predictive TDN 100 gets put together in front of your eyes. So the scouts are going to get together and put together the list of the 100 names they believe are going to go in the top 100 over the course of the first 2 days of the draft. So that is what we have for you today. And then tonight, got to do all the plugging here. Tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here where you are watching this show right now, a live mock draft to kick off draft week on a Monday. Myself, Keith Sanchez, Damian Parson, Ryan Fowler are getting together, and we are doing a mock draft tonight. Live mock draft in person. So very, very excited for that. That is going to be on this YouTube channel and on the TDN social feed. So got a lot of fun stuff for you today here on a Monday to kick off draft week. Again, let me just send the tweet. Put all the things that you want discussed here in the show, in the chat, and I will get to them, and we will get started here in just a second. But very happy that you are all here. Very excited to kick off draft week with you all. The fun is about to begin. So just give me 2 seconds to write this tweet, and we will get started. Okay, we've got the tweet sent. We've got the post in the Discord. We are going to get started here, so let me transition to the full screen. Hello, everybody. A happy draft week to you all. Give me a second here. Take a sip of water. I see all the questions in the chat. You got Jamie in here as well to discuss his mock draft, and that's kind of what we are going to discuss here. So without further ado, we're on a bit of a time crunch today because, again, we've got a lot of TDN Premium content coming your way at the bottom of the hour in the TDN Premium Discord, and we'll record that for those of you who maybe can't be there. And by the way, you got 30 minutes to sign up for TDN Premium if you were not already a member. You have the Overreaction Mondays every week. This week, you're getting a live watch-along to round one with me and Jamie that is not going out to the public. That is just for TDN Premium members, and you got a lot of fun stuff. We got film studies every week that we do, so what a time to sign up for the TDN Premium Discord so that you can be a part of what we've got planned here for you on draft week. So I see all your questions. I'm going to press the record button and we can get started. And welcome into the Monday edition of the TDN Daily podcast. Chris Schubert back with you here once again on the show. A happy draft week to you all. You can feel the buzz in the air as we move closer and closer to the start of the 2023 NFL draft. We've got the YouTube chat already popping, already buzzing with a bunch of questions. It is a Monday. We have a mock draft to discuss. Jamie Eisner put together what is, I would say, version 4.0 of his predictive mock that he already has told me is going to change countless number of times before he has to submit it on Wednesday. So we have that we will discuss. I am working on a version 1.0 of my predictive mock, but we are passing the show over to you all of this week. And so we've already got some questions in the chat about Jamie's mock draft, about the draft in general. So that is how we are going to kick off this week here on the show. But a lot of fun stuff here throughout the week here on the YouTube channel, on the social channel, in the TDN Premium Discord. It is Christmas time, and you can feel it in the air. You can feel the buzz in the air. Woke up this morning and was very, very excited to push the go live button and to get this show started. Hello to you, Sam. Hello to everybody in the chat. And so again, you guys know the drill for the live viewing audience. You throw the questions in there. We will answer them here in real time. We will start with the Sports Nut, who asks, is the Levis at 2 odds, thinking Houston takes him or they trade the pick? I think it's a great question. My inclination here at this point is that would be a trade, that would not be the guy that Houston would select at number 2, so that it would be somebody trading into that spot in order to get Will Levis. Now, I will tell you, our good friend Jamie Eisner, who, by the way, Jamie, are you still in the chat? I know that you were in here at the beginning. Are you still in the chat? Because listen, I need the TDN Daily and the entire community round of applause for our guy Jamie Eisner, who is Reddit famous, because our NFL posted his tweet about the Will Levis odds, and there was a full-blown conversation. It's one of the top posts in r/NFL this morning, and it has been since he put that tweet out. So we have a celebrity in the building tonight, Jamie Eisner, who is got the 4th highest, right now, the 4th most popular post on the NFL subreddit, I think under the hot tab. 2.7K upvotes for you there, Jamie, on your tweet about the betting odds changing for number 2 on Saturday. So you are a celebrity. We're happy to have you. But yes, I think this is not the Texans related. I think if the Texans stay in that spot, it will be to select a pass rusher. And it will be to select Tyree Wilson. Hint, hint, that is currently what I have in my version 1.0. You know what? I'll show it to you. I'll show it to you guys. Here's what we've got going on here. And this is why you need to watch the YouTube version of the show here. This is version 1.0 of the mock. I will get it in as close as you can so you can see what I got going on here. And you guys can ask any questions. But we got to New England. We got to New England's pick, and this is where we spot, as you can see, version 1.0 right here. And we've made picks. I'll hold it up for just a little bit longer so that you can see all of the picks here that we've done. And you can ask any questions here as we continue to put this together. But yeah, I think it would be, it's not, Houston wouldn't be making the pick for Will Levis at number 2, that it would be somebody else trading into that spot. Would the Eagles actually take Bijan at 10? This from Logan Baker. I think it's certainly a consideration. I think it's certainly something to think about. I do not have that right now. I will not predictably have that. I think there are too many other teams that make sense for Bijan. Inside the top 10, I think there are a couple teams that make some sense. One team in particular that I've kind of narrowed my focus on, that I want to make sure that that's the team that I have getting Bijan. It would be the Atlanta Falcons as of this moment. But again, that's just the version 1.0. Could they take him? Yes. I think running back would be a position that you would consider. I just don't think it's going to be one of the top options that I have. Ross asks, do the Texans even know what they are going to do at pick number 2? It's a great question, Ross. I think they know that it's either going to be edge or trade, right? I don't think quarterback's on the table. I really don't. I think they are very, very comfortable. And this is just me guessing, using my gut and an educated guess. I think they're comfortable not going with the quarterback. I think they are comfortable. I mean, DeMeco Ryans has come from San Francisco. When other than, trading up and selecting Trey Lance, which DeMeco Ryans wasn't part of that process, they have found a way to make do by just getting quarterbacks in other areas. And if that's the tree that DeMeco Ryans has learned under, he's going to realize that, listen, I got to worry about everything else. The reason why we were successful in San Francisco is because we beefed up everywhere else. We had playmakers all over the place, all 3 levels of the defense. We had an impact tight end. We had 2 great wide receivers. We were able to run the ball really well. We were able to protect up front. And then it didn't matter who the quarterback was for us. It was interchangeable behind under center. And so I think think that's the philosophy that DeMeco Ryans is going to bring in there, and he's just the head coach, but I believe he has a say, and I think he's going to say, no, get me that elite pass rusher. Get me that guy that's going to wreak havoc in my division, for a decade plus. And so that's, to me, the thing that they're going to do in a lot of ways. Tuttle says, even though it's smokescreen season, it seems like a lot of shoulder shrugs on what teams will do, especially in the back half of the first round. Yeah, this is because, and we've talked about it here on this show, we've talked about it on Prospects and Props, we've talked about it in the TDN Premium Discord. You have a very, very finite group of players that people think are first-round talents. It was probably at most 20 per team. And so with that, that gives you 11 picks at best in the back of the first round that are very open to going, quote-unquote, off the board, because a player that's going to be on some team's board is not going to be on another team's board that high. And so that is interesting. And so to me, the smokescreen season, you're getting a lot of information, and you're getting a lot of information pointing to, these are the things I kind of think is going to happen, but the rest is up in the air. And it's fun. It is a lot of fun to have at this point. Do you believe the Paris Johnson or Witherspoon at 3 rumors? Sims World, I am very skeptical of any rumors that seemingly come out of nowhere this late in the process that mock a player to a team seemingly out of nowhere, right? That feels like it's drummed up interest. But Paris Johnson Jr. would make sense for the Arizona Cardinals at 3. So that's where I have to at least take a step back and put a little validity into it. Devin Witherspoon would make some sense for the Cardinals at 3 from a positional need perspective. They need offensive line help. They need a corner. They also need a lot of other things. And so that's why it would probably just be best player available, BPA for me, and that's why I would lean towards one of the edge rushers or one of the interior guys. But both of those guys do make some sense from a positional need perspective. Who trades up for Levis? The Colts. Let me show you here, folks. Let me show you what I have going on here. If you can see it right here, I have Minnesota trading up to take Will Levis in my version 1.0 of the mock draft, but I do not have them going high as Jamie. Jamie has Minnesota trading into the number 2 spot. I have decided we're going to do a little NFC swap, because in my version 1.0 of my mock, I do not have Jalen Carter on the board. I don't have Tyree Wilson or Will Anderson on the board. I don't have either of the top 2 corners on the board. So Philadelphia, Howie Roseman, does what he does best. He swindles. He says, all right, I'll make a deal with you. And he makes a deal, drops back about 10 or so spots, and Minnesota comes up to take Will Levis. That's kind of my hedge, because I think moving up to 2 is really, really tough, and I don't really want to predict it, because I think it kind of messes with some things. So this is the kind of happy medium where I felt like Minnesota could pull this off, and the way the board fell for me, again, this is a version 1.0. I'm going to change it 47,000 times. I felt more comfortable with this being the way the board fell out. When doing your predictive mock, what are you feeling for a ceiling floor for JSN? My ceiling is Houston at 12 if they stay in the spot. And that's what I have in my predictive mock right now. So JSN, the ceiling is 12 to me. A floor, let me pull up Tankathon just so I can see the teams in front of me. And give you an accurate answer, because I don't think anybody in front. I don't think Tennessee's going to take a wide receiver. Chicago might, but I think they're going to be in love with one of the offensive tackles, and they're going to have their pick of that group. And so they'll do that. And I don't see any other team in the top 10 really making a leap on a wide receiver with the other talent that's on the board. Floor, the Giants at 25, I think would be the floor. Like worst case scenario, I think if he's on the board at 25, the Giants will run the card in. So 25 would be kind of the floor for me. Jamie says 23. Would that be Minnesota or potentially Houston in a trade? Because I know that's exactly what you did, Jamie. You had them go to 23. You didn't have them take that wide receiver, but I could understand that. But I think ultimately, worst case scenario, the Giants at 25 would probably be as low as I'm willing to go. How about the JSN Eagles rumor? Again, it's not much of a rumor, right? I mean, it's a report that they're doing a lot of late work in the process, right? Teams do this all the time. All the time. And I don't read too much into it. It's certainly a possibility, but I'm not going to read a whole lot into that being the case. More likely to happen, 2 running backs go round 1 or 3 tight ends go round 1. More likely to happen, 2 running backs go round 1 or 3 tight ends go round 1. Well, I think 2 running backs are going in the first round. Because I have Bijan going pretty early, and I have a new spot. I have a new spot that I really like for Jahmyr Gibbs in the first round, and it's kind of a galaxy brain idea, but I'm going to do it because I really, really like it. So that, and then the 3 tight ends. Right now, I don't have a tight end coming off the board through the first 15 picks, and I really don't think I'm going to be able to fit 3 tight ends in here. So Sportsnut, I will say, as of this go around, I'll say 2 running backs go in the first round. Braden says, I just don't know where Gibbs goes. Interested what you have. So right now, as of this moment, and I talked about it in a Galaxy Brain idea with Jamie, and you can hear my full thoughts on this in the Prospects and Props podcast. I don't want to do the same show twice, right? But we're going to kind of have some overlap here at this point. So I'll share it here on this show because I know there are some people who don't cross over to the betting side of things and listen to that show. I don't think teams necessarily 100% do this, right? And draft because of recent news and recent things that have happened, within the last 6-12 months, right? They're always looking kind of in the short term, but also looking at the long term. And I have been a big believer when we've talked about the fun scale. We've discussed Bijan Robinson as a huge, huge candidate for the Detroit Lions at number 6. But people have said, number 6, Bijan, they got other things they need to address. That's fine. So we've talked about 18 potentially. Man, if Bijan got to 18, what could that look like? Well, I don't have Bijan getting to 18. But if Detroit's picking at 18, they pick in front of some of the other teams that I would be worried about taking a running back, specifically the Chargers, and Jahmyr Gibbs on the board. Jahmyr Gibbs, a very good pass catcher, can help you in the passing game, which you're going to need with Jameson Williams being suspended for 6 games. You don't have to spend a top 10 pick on a running back. So why not have the Lions be the new landing spot for Jahmyr Gibbs? Everybody's been like, man, I don't have a spot for Jahmyr Gibbs. Well, maybe you were just given one. Maybe you were just given the gift of Jahmyr Gibbs makes a lot of sense for the Lions, and they need help because they're without J-Mo for 6 weeks, or 6 games, I should say. They lost Stanley Berryhill, so their passing offense is going to need some help. We were already talking about them getting a running back. How about getting a player who's pretty good in the passing game? A very good route runner. It certainly helped Alabama in a lot of ways. Was just their best target, and you get a great runner as well. So that's my new Galaxy Brain idea for the Lions. I really, really like it. That's the spot that I feel is a spot that I can come around to get Jahmyr Gibbs in there. Because when you're doing a predictive mock, there are players, you write down a list of players that you want to get in there, like players that you think are going to be in the first round. I think Jahmyr Gibbs is going to be a first-round player. And in order to find a spot for him that I don't think messes everything else up, was tough. Detroit kind of gave me that spot. And so I really like Jahmyr as a potential mock option for the Lions at 18. Which team is the most likely to trade back in the first round, Sim says? Trade back into the first round. I think if Houston passes on a quarterback at 2, they're likely to trade back in to get Hendon Hooker. I think, a team trading back into the first round for a quarterback is obviously the first thing you're going to look at. So I certainly think Houston is a team that makes sense. Let me look at the full order to see who's picking at the top of the second round and who could potentially move up. You've got, within the first 5 picks, you got Pittsburgh, Houston, Arizona, Indy, and the Rams. And, I don't know. I mean, the Rams need everything, so there's always going to be a player available for them. So I don't know if they're going to immediately jump back into the first round for something. Indy, if a wide receiver starts to fall a little bit and they want to help whatever quarterback they take at 4, they could trade back in. I think Arizona stays at 34. I don't think they trade back into the first round. So Houston, I think, is the most likely team. Maybe if Vegas misses on a quarterback and they want to trade back into the first round for Hendon Hooker, they could come up from 38. Same thing with Tennessee at 41. Tuttle mentions Detroit. I think that's a great possibility. They pick 48 and 55 in the second round. They could very easily move back in and it not cost them a ton. So those would be the teams that I would soft circle as teams that can make some sense. But again, you got to see who's on the board, right? I think after pick 20, players start to emerge on the board that maybe other teams didn't anticipate being on the board. And that could maybe spur some action to try to move up. I'm getting some comments in the chat about how great the pick was of Jahmyr Gibbs. It's not written down yet because I haven't gotten that far because I can't figure out what to do with New England at 14 in this mock. How early is Chicago's pick in round 2? Well, they would have the top pick if they didn't trade it for Chase Claypool. They would be picking 32nd. But they pick 53rd. That is the pick that they got for Roquan Smith from Baltimore. So they pick 53rd. In the second round, and they pick 61st. So kind of a similar spot from Detroit, but they're kind of staggered backwards a little bit, so they'll have to do some work there. Eddie, yes, would the Seahawks possibly move up if a quarterback falls? I certainly think it's possible, Eddie. I think 5, I'm not going to mock them a quarterback in any capacity. So if they would do so, they would move up from 20. And again, when we talk about the quarterbacks that could fall, I think it's more likely for a team to trade to like Tennessee's pick not Tennessee's pick at 11, but that range of 10, 11, or 12, right? Philly at 10 might be interested in moving, depending on the way the board falls. Houston might look at this and say, well, we're not taking a quarterback. If they don't take a quarterback at 2, they could be like, well, great. Let's continue to move back. Let's continue to get more picks. Let's continue to build this team up. And how far are we moving back? We're moving from 12 to 20. If Tampa calls and wants to move from 19, we're moving from 19 to 12. We're moving back 7 spots. Minnesota wants to move up. We're dropping 11 spots. That feels more palatable to me than the move up from number 2. It's doable because they pick 12. But I would much rather go in the direction of if you're going to move 2, I wouldn't want to move back that far. I'd still want to keep 2 top 15 picks if possible. But yes, Eddie, I certainly think the Seahawks could move up if possible. Jamie had an interesting proposal in his mock draft, and then ultimately ended up not doing what I thought he was going to do. He moved out of 20 with Seattle, moved backwards, and almost still landed a quarterback. He didn't go that direction. But Braden in the mock, Jamie does something close to that. Jamie does something similar to that. Andrew Park says, Tank Dell, Josh Downs, best CBA available, or BJ Ojulari at pick 39 for Carolina. I mean, Andrew, I think you're throwing out all the right names and positions that I would consider at 39. Tank Dell at 39 might be a little high. I love Tank Dell, right? He's one of my guys in this draft class, but the size is a concern, and I don't know if that's a top 40 player, right? I think he's a top. Well, how many picks are there in this year's draft? 102 after 3 rounds. I think he's a top 102 player. I think he goes on day 2. But I would be much rather interested in Josh Downs, maybe one of the Tennessee wide receivers, Cedric Tillman, or Jalen Hyatt. But every name that you mentioned there makes a ton of sense, right? They need help at corner. They traded DJ Moore, so we're going to want to get a wide receiver for whoever we take at number 1, more than likely Bryce Young. And also, Andrew, I heard you say earlier, any way that it's possible for Anthony Richardson to go number 1. I would say anything is possible, but I'm like 95+% sure that it's Bryce Young. Probably even higher than that. I think I'm 99% sure that it's going to be Bryce, number 1. That's the easiest pick for me in my predictive mock. I write that down at the top of every page. So if that gets messed up, then so be it. But that's what I have written down. But yeah, I think all names that you mentioned there make a ton of sense and are in line with how I would be thinking in a lot of ways. Sims World says, who are some of your guys in the draft? Okay. Let's see here. The chat will help me out here because there are a lot of loyal listeners to a lot of the shows that I do. So they'll keep me honest, make sure I don't forget anybody. Julius Brents, corner out of Kansas State, is a guy for me. Whatever team he goes to, as long as it's not an AFC East rival, I'm going to be rooting so much for that guy. Tajay Spears, another one of my guys. Very, very excited to see where he goes. Kendre Miller is another one of my guys, running back out of TCU. Rashee Rice is one of my guys, although there have been some concerns about some potential red flags. I don't know these things, right? These are some things that we've been hearing. I haven't been able to kind of confirm them, and didn't really play well at the Senior Bowl. So I'll see where Rashee goes and goes from there, but he is certainly falling off the board a little bit for me. So I would say Julius Brents, Tajay Spears, Kendre Miller, Tank Dell. I'm trying to think is there anybody else that I'm severely missing. I'm just going through the positions in my head. Luke Musgrave. Thank you, Braden. Yeah, Luke Musgrave's a guy for me. He's my tight end 1. I would bet on those physical traits. I'm trying to think. Henry To'oTo'o at linebacker. Ivan Pace Jr., linebacker out of Cincinnati, is another one of my guys. I'm trying to think. Is there anybody else? I think that's a good kind of base for all the guys that I've been kind of pounding the table for throughout this process that I really... Jordan Addison, if you want to count Jordan Addison, because he's kind of not getting a lot of love here this late in the process. I would throw Jordan Addison on that list as well, of guys that I like. Jamie throwing something in the chat to, I think, make people think, and then immediately pulls the rug out because he mentions that the NFL is going to host their dress rehearsal for the draft for all 32 teams on Tuesday. Why 32? Jamie. I mean, there's a team that doesn't have a first-round pick. And to make sure it all goes smoothly, and that mock starts at 4 p.m. Eastern, and he says remember to ignore any of the pictures of the screen because those screenshots are going to come out, and they're going to have names on the board of different players, and I'm sure everybody will then run to the betting websites and places to be able to place bets based on what they see. So a good shout there by Jamie to say don't pay attention to that. I think that's all of my guys. That I would say I can immediately think of at all of it. Oh, John Michael Schmitz, interior offensive lineman, Minnesota. I keep having guys the more I think about it. I don't have anybody in the quarterback class that I really like. I've mentioned the 2 running backs, Jordan Addison, wide receiver, Tank Dell, Luke Musgrave, John Michael Schmitz. That's really everything on the offensive side of the ball. Defensive side of the ball, I mentioned the 2 linebackers. Paris Johnson. Yeah, I kind of like Paris a good bit. That would probably be another guy on the offensive line. But yeah, those would be the guys, Sims, that are some of my guys in the draft. We'll see where they go. I mean, not all those guys are going to be day 1 or day 2 players. I think a couple of them are going to slip into day 3. Specifically, I think Kendre Miller falls into day 3. And I think Ivan Pace, probably because of the size, will fall into day 3, even though I don't think he should. Jets, Giants, Seahawks, all very interested in Chris's guy, John Michael Schmitz. Thank you, Jamie, for that piece of information to get me very excited for John Michael Schmitz to potentially be playing at MetLife for the New York Jets. I mean, they did just re-sign Connor McGovern this morning and kind of threw cold water on the idea of them taking an interior guy at 42 or 43. But I don't necessarily think that rules them out for one of those guys at 42 or 43. But I would be stunned. We had the floor-ceiling conversation earlier about Jackson Smith and Jigba. The floor-ceiling conversation for John Michael Schmitz is let me look here. Let me have the board up. Floor, I would say 23, 25, 20. He says Seattle. Yeah, okay, that makes some sense. The Giants at 25 after what you mentioned. I forgot that you mentioned the Seahawks. 20, and then I think the floor is 42 or 43 for the Jets, but I don't think he gets there. I got all of these teams that could make some sense to take. Seattle, they don't take him at 20, could take him at 37. The Giants at 25. John Michael Schmitz is going to go way higher than I think people think, and that's a name that I think I'm going to try to sneak into the first round in doing this process. But yeah, I'm. You run out of options. You run out of options at some point. 20 to 43 is the range, and I feel pretty confident he goes in that window. I mean, it's a big window, Jamie, but I agree. That's the window. Because the Jets currently with the 2 picks, we'll see what ultimately happens on Friday if they can finally get this Aaron Rodgers deal sorted out. But there is, I think, a strong likelihood that he goes anywhere in that window from 20 to 43. Again, I don't know if that's Jamie. Jamie and I aren't really going out on a limb here by saying that the ceiling and the floor for John Michael Schmitz in that regard. Maybe the ceiling being 20 is the shock to some people. But the floor I don't think is. The Jets, Seahawks, and Giants have 5 picks in that window. Yeah, I mean you got Seattle picking at 20, you get the Giants picking at 25, you have Seattle picking at 37, and you have the Jets picking at 42 and 43. I don't think those teams are going to collectively take 5 swings at draft selections, and John Michael Schmitz is not going to be one of those picks if he's available every single time one of those teams picks. I just don't see it. I really, really don't. All right, we're going to wrap up the podcast version of the show here. We'll go do about 5 minutes of post-show shenanigans. Appreciate everybody listening to this in the podcast feed. This is the week. If you have not taken part in the YouTube version of the show, this is the week to do it. 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time every single day, probably other than Wednesday this week. You're going to get coverage leading up to the draft. Friday's show, I know, is going to be spectacular. We might go for an hour on Friday's show reacting to the first round and previewing day 2 of the draft because there's just going to be so many things, and the TDN staff's going to be together, so we'll be able to talk to some different people here on the show. So you're going to want to be over on the YouTube channel, but we appreciate you listening to this show, rating, reviewing, subscribing to the podcast. But we've got a lot of great content coming to you this week on thedraftnetwork.com. So stay tuned. We've got a bunch of shows coming this week. Appreciate everybody making this show a part of your day. Everybody enjoy the rest of your Monday. I will talk to you all tomorrow. All right, we'll do about 5 minutes of post-show stuff because then I got to hop over to the TDN Premium Discord, but appreciate everybody hanging out here. And sorry that this show is so abrupt, but we just got a lot of stuff for TDN Premium that we need to get to. And this conversation about the TDN Predictive 100 is probably going to be a 90-minute conversation. So lots of stuff going on behind the scenes. And then as I mentioned at the top, but I will mention it again here at the bottom of the show, tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on this YouTube channel, on the Draft Network Twitter account, both of those places, we will have a live mock draft. I will be hosting myself, Keith Sanchez, Damian Parson, Ryan Fowler. We all getting together to do a mock draft. So we're just going to hang out and have fun, right? We're going to be super laid back. It's going to be just like this, and we're just going to have some fun and talk some football and basically do a live podcast that is a mock draft for 90 minutes or so, or however long it takes us to make the 31 picks in the first round. So we're going to have some fun. It's going to be a great time. Looking forward to it. Looking forward to everybody kind of joining us here. So 5 minutes in the Discord is where you are going to want to be. I appreciate everybody being here. I will make this the last call for anything that you guys want to hear my thoughts on. Real quick, Braden says, I know it's predictive, but Jalen Hyatt being in the predictive top 100 is too high no matter where he slots in. Okay, Braden, well, you know what? You should be in the conversation in a little bit here on the Discord where we have that conversation. Wow, Jamie, is that your galaxy brain? You're predicting it? You're calling your shot? Jalen Hyatt being a Giant. Who did Houston take it to? Right now, Raul, I have them taking Tyree Wilson, edge from Houston. Edge for Houston. That's what I have. Texas Tech edge, Tyree Wilson going to Houston at number 2. That's what I have them doing. So that is where I'm currently sitting on things. Could that change? Could I flip to Will Anderson? I could, but right now that's what I have. Now, I do have your team taking Anthony Richardson, Raul, so don't worry. I have Anthony Richardson going to Indy. I do have them flipping with Arizona in order to make the pick because I'm a coward and I wanted to hedge against Indy trading or Arizona potentially trading the pick. But I have Anthony Richardson going to the Indianapolis Colts at the moment. I'm excited to see who you have for KC. I mean, Braden, we got to get there, man. I mean, Jamie has given me an idea that I like. I don't want to just copy it, but I really, really like it. But we'll see if that board plays out that way for me. The board is playing a similar way that it did for Jamie, and so I might do the same thing. And Jamie will be very mad at me for doing it. But I've already got a couple Galaxy Brain things that I discussed on the pod that I certainly am going to do. I mean, one of the big things for me is that I really think all 4 quarterbacks go inside the top 11, like the 4 big names. I don't think Hendon Hooker goes in the top 11. I do think Hendon Hooker goes in the first round, though, and that's a big problem for me. Like, finding that spot in the back half of the first round is a problem. So, we'll see how ultimately this ends up panning out. Eddie says copying is the greatest form of flattery. I don't know if Jamie will see it that way, but we'll see. Future Titan CJ Stroud. That's what I have. That is what I have. I have them trading up to get CJ Stroud at the moment. So, that's... How far does CJ Stroud fall? Right now, in my current mock draft, I have him falling to number 8. I have them moving with Atlanta. To take C.J. Stroud. So they do a pick swap, and then Atlanta gets something else in the future. Because when Atlanta comes on the board, Jalen Carter's off the board, the 2 edges are off the board, the 2 top corners are off the board. So they felt like a pretty nice landing spot for Tennessee to move up to. I will tell you, it does concern me that I let Vegas pick and they didn't take C.J. Stroud. So I might have to change that a little bit. I might have to make Detroit trade. I don't know. Again, I told you it was a version 1.0. But, okay, folks, I appreciate everybody being here. I appreciate everybody being a part of the show today, but I've got to run because we've got Overreaction Monday. Again, if you are a member of the TDN Premium Discord, right now, head on over there. In the Overreaction Monday channel, we are going through the TDN Predictive 100, so it should be a lot of fun. You should be able to be a part of the process and have some conversation and ask about some players. And then tonight, come back here, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, hang out with the boys, troll the team a little bit, and come hang out while we do a live mock draft. So I hope everybody has a great rest of their Monday. I appreciate all of you being here to kick off draft week. I know there's so many places that you could be consuming football coverage right now with the lead up to draft week, so it means the world to me that you would spend some time with me here on a Monday, and we hope that we can have a great week with you guys and have a lot of fun breaking all this down and enjoying the chaos that the next couple days are going to bring. So I appreciate everybody being here. I hope everybody has a great rest of their Monday, and I'll talk to everybody later.